What was that? Huh? It's nothing. What's up guys, Bona5 here, welcome back to another speculation video, and today we're going to talk about something completely different. In the last video, we talked about the missing faction that will be or not will be added to Warhammer 3. Today, we're going to talk about the possible units that might be added to the final DLC of Warhammer 2, titled The Silence and the Fury, which is a DLC focusing on the Beastmen and the Lizardmen. If you guys didn't know, when I was reacting to the trailer, I was freaking out because the Lizardmen got a 7th legendary lord, which is basically, I'm gonna tell you in a bit. And it's so weird. It's like Lizardmen is the #1 winner of how many legendary lords they have in Warhammer 2. The Lizardmen are the winners, and everybody else unfair. So with that out of the way, let us begin. Before we talk about the possible units that might be added to the DLC, let's talk about the 2 legendary lords that were announced in the trailer. First up, we have taurox the Brass Bull, one of the famous legendary lords of the Beastmen in... I don't know what army book is this guy about. If you guys know, leave in the comments down below. He's one of the famous legendary beast characters in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. It is said that this guy was so angry, so mad, full of rage, he hates humans, he kills literally everybody in the battlefield. The Chaos Gods have given him brass skin, and nothing can defeat this guy, except for one weakness in his throat, which you can kill him in the tabletop with 2 lucky dice rolls if you guys watch CODY Bond's speculation video of the final DLC. Anyway, the next legendary character that was added to the trailer was oxyotl, or oxyotl if you know how to pronounce names in Aztec. I was gonna say oxyotl to the entire video because oxyotl sounds kind of weird for me, but yeah, that's how you pronounce him. Oxyotl is one of the famous lizardmen characters in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. And you know why? Well, he's one of the characters that survived the Chaos Realm. Damn! Oxyotl is a famous chameleon skink blowpipe dude. I mean, basically, that's why he's called the Silence. And taurox the Fury. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the possible units, lords and heroes, and FLCs that might be added during the launch of the DLC. So let's start with the Beastmen. Since of course they're gonna rework, let's start talking about them first. Because you know, they kind of feel sad, they won't get a rework before. Everyone makes fun of them, you know, in tariffs videos. But now the Beastmen are happy and you know, that kind of stuff. So I want to, you know, cheer them up. First we have the Gorgons. Giant humongous creatures that terrorizes enemies in the battlefield. And one of the most scariest creatures of the Beastmen roster. They're kind of like Cygors, but these guys have blades and they eat humans. Because that's actually, I think, in the tabletop, that these things can devour soldiers, which will also regain his health. So I'm thinking that could be like a mechanic for this creature. And of course, we all know that everyone is hoping that the Gorgon will be the DLC, because we're gonna need something big and something amazing in the trailer. You know, like, there needs something in the trailer to make the like, oh, I want to buy it. Yes, take all my money. Take all my money. I'm buying it. Next, we have the Jabberslite. And there's nothing much to say about this guy, but he's kind of like the Manticore, but his looks are different. I mean, just look at it. It looks horrifying and scary and, yeah, perfect for causing terror. So, yeah, I think we're going to need another flying unit for the Beastmen because all they have is Harpies and Manticores. So, why not have a Jabberslite in the DLC? That could be amazing. Also, when I was watching the trailer, I heard this in the end of the trailer. There was a roar in the cave. So, none of us are sure who made that roar and what's in the cave. I believe it could be the Jabberslite that's in the cave, because that doesn't sound like a Minotaur to me. Next, we have the Tuskgores. They're kind of like smaller versions of the Razorgores, but they're kind of cheaper. And yes, the Tuskgores will be added to the DLC, because we're going to need something cheap in the early campaign of the Beastmen. Because, you know, Razorgores are expensive, so want to have Tuskgores. Not only that, Tuskgores will not come with just a chariot, but also Tuskgore herds. So you're gonna have like a bunch of pigs and, you know, send them to kill anything in its path. And And before we go into the next unit for the Beastmen, I was looking at some images and then I just saw this. Someone actually made his speculation on the Silence of the Fury DLC. In the lizardman side of the image, he showed chameleon stalkers. So the new chameleon skink that was in the game was called the chameleon stalker. So okay, so that's what they're called. Before we continue on the lizardmen, a few honorable mentions of other units that might be added to the DLC. So let's talk about those. First, we have the Brays. These little guys are kind of like what the Beastmen called them as lame Beastmen because they don't have horns. And they were treated as slaves or food to monsters. I don't know if they're going to be added to the DLC. I don't know. I think not. The Braves are kind of like the lesser versions of the Ongors, so I guess not. Next, we have the Praetons. Think of these guys as like the Beastman version of the Terrorgeist, but this guy is not on death, and he doesn't have any breath attacks, and these guys are kind of like a cross between a bat and a deer. And these guys are really fast in the tabletop. If I remember, because I was watching Grateful Grudge's missing units on the Beastmen, and he said these things are really fast. So I have a question for you guys. Who would you think would be the flying unit for the Beastmen? The Praeton or the Jabberslide? Let me know in the comments down below. I believe people would say that the Jabberslide would be the flying unit for the Beastmen because it was famous and popular in the tabletop. Then the Praeton, or maybe both can be added. I'm not sure. Now let's talk about the Lizardmen. So first off, we have the Troglodons. And yeah, these guys are kind of like reskin versions of the Carnosaur, except he has like poison attacks. Yeah, I think that's about it. But it is really famous in the tabletop, so I guess this guy's gonna be in the DLC. But the Troglodon also brought something else. That of the Skink Oracles. So I guess this could be another hero type for the Skinks. All we have is Skink Mages, Skink Blowpipe Boys. So why not have a Skink Oracle as a hero? Yeah, that should be on the hero list. Dang it, I get. Next, we have the CULHANS. And I call these little birds the chickens of Lustria. The lizardmen not only use them as food, but the skinks uses them as mounts. So we have like a new cavalry for the lizardmen. All we have is Saurus warriors on Cold One, so why not have skinks on CULHANS? So we get like cheaper cavalry in the early game for the lizardmen. And that's about it. But also I forgot to mention for the beastmen, the elemental of beasts. I'm not sure if the elemental of beasts would be added as a unit for the Beastmen, but what do you guys think? Should the Elemental Beast be added to the final DLC? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all the units that might be added to the Beastmen and the Lizardmen in the final DLC. Now let's talk about the heroes. I think there's not much to say about the Lizardmen because all they have is the Skink Oracle. So that's about it. So I guess the Skink Oracle is gonna be as an FLC. And for the Beastmen, it's the Wargors. Yes, a gore hero for the Beastmen. Because all we have is just a gore bull and a gray shaman. So why not have a Wargore as the third hero for the Beastmen? But there's also another Beastman guy that I don't know if anyone wants to be a hero or a lord, and that of the Centigore. So I'm not sure if the Centigore is going to be the FLC hero or the Wargore as an FLC hero. So I guess the Wargore is going to be an FLC hero. For petty sake, I forgot I was still in the hero top, not in the FLC yet. Let's talk about the possible lords that might be added to the DLC. Let's start with the Beastmen. Besides the Doom Bull, we have a Great Shaman and a Centigore as a lord. So, what would be the possible lord for the final DLC? For me, I think it will be the Centigore. Because we're going to need someone buffing some Centigores and faster units. Because, why not? Or maybe the Centigore as a hero. Because that gave me an idea for a FLC character that might be added to the DLC. So, what would it be? So that's what we're going to talk about today, the FLCs. So what are going to be the possible FLCs that might be added during the launch of the DLC? I think it would be this guy, Gornos Warhoof. Gornos Warhoof is a famous Centigore lord in the Beastmen. Also, I forgot to mention Moonclaw. That's right, the guy I said in my reaction video of Cody Bond speculation video of the final DLC. The guy that came from Moorschleb, crashed into Earth, blah blah blah, wreak havoc, yeah, doing the T-pose, riding on two-headed hounds. Yeah, I think he will be a hero for the DLC. So yeah, I believe Moonclaw would be like Lord Croak and Ariel of the Beastmen. Now let's go back to the possible FLCs. Since we all know the two possible FLCs that might be added to the final DLC would be the Skink Oracle and the Wargore. So what's gonna be the two remaining that's left? I'm not sure if Goros Warhoof will be added to the FLC. I don't know. Maybe if there's gonna be a fifth FLC, then maybe Goros could be added. But I don't know if the Beastman needs a fifth lord or a fourth lord to, just make them happy for the rework. So I believe maybe they're gonna have a fifth lord, and it would be Goros Warhoof. So what are the other FLC ideas? Well, since Warhammer 2 is coming to an end, we cannot forget the dwarves. Yes, a new legendary lord for the dwarves. The dwarves rework is okay, but they need something new. They need the rune mechanic. And of course, we all know dwarves love runesmithing. So why not have Thoric Ironbrown? Thoric Ironbrown is the famous dwarf lord and master rune lord of Karak Azul. So why not have him as an FLC? A new dwarf dude, just, runesmithing for you, giving you some buffs for your weapons and stuff. Because that's what dwarves do. They like putting runes on weapons so they become very powerful. When I was watching a Game of Grudges video about a possible Vampire versus Beastmen DLC, I was like, yeah, I want that. But I believe a Vampire FLC would not happen. Because since Warhammer 3 is coming soon, Nagash is coming in, the new Vampire stuff will be on Game 3. And also another reason, we cannot forget the one, the only, the Beastman hater himself, Boris Todbringer. That's right, Boris Todbringer as an FLC. But not exactly an FLC, but in Total War Access. Think of him as like Dryka. When Dryka added new units to the DLC, like the hounds, the creepy purple tree things, manticores, a spider, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he can be the same thing as her because he has units that are all reskinned. So why not bring them into the Empire roster? If he's added, then that's 5 legendary lords for the Empire. Thoric Ironbrow, that's 5 legendary lords for the dwarves. The reason why I want a new dwarf legendary lord, because Game 3 is coming, and their betrayed kin is about to invade the world. So they're gonna need another dwarf dude. So here's my thoughts on possible units that might be added to the DLC. For Beastmen, it's the Gorgons, the Jabberslythe, the Tuskgore Herd, and the Tuskgore Chariots. For hero, it's gonna be a Wargore or a Centigore hero. For lord type, I believe it will be the Great Brave Shaman. For the Lizardmen, it's gonna be the Feral Troglodyte, the Feral CULHANS, and the CULHAN Riders. For hero, it's gonna be the Skink Oracle. And for a lord type, I think it will be the Skink Oracle as a lord. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should the Skink Oracle be a lord or a hero? Let me know in the comments down below. So for FLCs, I believe it's gonna be the Skink Oracle and the Wargore, and the 2 more will be Boris Todbringer and Thoric Ironbrown. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy my speculation of what would be in the final DLC for Warhammer 2. This DLC is coming to July, so ride your Troglodons, ride your CULHANS, ride your Tuskgores, and ready the endless hunt. And if you want to join the bloody rampage, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Sound the horns! The endless hunt begins in July. Unlike last time I said it was June.